Thanks, Craig.
Thanks for showing up, everybody. Have a great weekend.
So I've always started these validation calls as sort of a just brief background of me, and then I will open it up and I wrote everybody's name down as they went in, and we'll just do in order. We'll go through one question at a time, and then obviously we'll be able to get through multiple rounds of that. I'm a pretty open book, so if you want to ask any question, I'm most likely going to answer it. So feel free to ask whatever you want. So about me and my location. We bought one territory in July of 2019. So I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. There's nobody else around me. I'm the only one in my state. So we have a lot of territory. We bought 2 additional territories to secure the entire Louisville market in summer of 2020. So a year or so in, we bought 2 more because we were going to get a neighbor and I didn't want to share. So I bought the other 2 territories. We've got right now 3 installers, a project manager that's sort of operations director. He does all our ordering and measuring and making sure the projects are going well. And then we have a salesperson as well. So we've got 1 sales, 3 installers, and 1 project manager, and then myself. So that's sort of our setup. Right now, the past 2 years, we did $1 million in sales. We should have no problem hitting that again this year. So that's sort of our brief background on us. And I am on the FAC as well. So I'm on the advisory council with the other 9 of us. So any questions you want, I'm free to answer. And if you don't mind, when I ask or start with the questioning, if you can just tell me where you're from, I'd really like to know. And we'll start with Heather. You were first. Oh, if you don't have a question, feel free to skip. And when we come back to you, we can do it that way too. So don't feel like you have to ask a question every round.
Okay. So Heather, and I am about an hour south of the Cleveland, Ohio area in Canton, Ohio. We have been exploring for a few months now the opportunity. Have been on quite a few validation calls as well. So I don't know that I have a question yet. I'm sure more are going to come up. So I'm going to let the guys go ahead and go and ask questions, and then I'll come back to me in a little bit.
Okay, no problem. Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike Clifford. I apologize. I'm not on video, and there's a 50% chance I'll be disconnected any minute now because I live in the woods just outside of Kalamazoo in Augusta, Michigan. My wife, who's normally attending these meetings with me, is not able to join, but her name is Lori, and we're kind of partnering up on this endeavor. I'm coming off of almost 30 years in the corporate world, all in marketing, and I'm just kind of looking at what's out there and trying to figure out our next move. And I'm pretty certain it's not going back into the corporate world. So we're about 2 months into this process, trying to navigate through all of this. And we're still kind of at that phase where we don't know what we don't know. So I'm not entirely sure about questions yet. Maybe something will come up. But my main interest is to hear, how everyone else is, experiencing this process and what their questions might be. The stuff that, I think all of us are in this same mix, as we're meeting with different franchisors, depending on your methodology, if you're using a coach or you're doing it on your own, it starts to get a little bit noisy, quite frankly, and trying to navigate sort of this upfront stuff. And then here come the FDDs, and a lot of it is simple math that I'm working through. What does this mean, this investment level and potential revenue? And that coupled with the ramp up period, how soon until the lights are on and things are happening, all of that. So, we have chosen a couple that we're focusing on in terms of options, obviously this being one of them. But we're still quite frankly just, kind of stumbling around trying to figure this all out.
Sure. So no, I get it. And if we get through the list, nobody's got questions, I'll just start talking. So you have to listen to me talk. So Kenneth, you're next.
Hi, so I'm from Washington, and I'm looking at buying an existing franchisee that's up for sale.
Sure.
One question I have for you is when you do your book, do you pay yourself a income as well as take the profit, or you just take the profit? How do you work that?
So I set it up going into it. I left my corporate job. I knew that I needed a salary from the beginning. So I said, I'm going to pay myself a salary from the start. So I dumped my 401k, pulled all that money into the business, bought the franchise, did all of that. And then I got a $150,000 SBA loan that provided me the working capital to get up and going and gave me that cushion to start giving myself a salary. So that's how I set myself up. So I'm still just drawing my salary. I'm not taking anything additional out of it, no profit out of it, nothing like that. All the money that's not paid to everybody else and the overhead and everything else, it's going right back into the business. So I just run on a salary on my side.
Okay, thank you. Do you how many vehicles do you run?
So we have 2 vans, 2 Nissan high roof vans, and then I have my personal vehicle wrapped as well. But that's really just used for me. And when I was doing sales calls myself, obviously I use that. My sales guy, he uses his own vehicle, and my project manager, which like I said, he's my operations director. He's really my business partner, everything in it. He's got his own personal vehicle as well. But the installers use the 2 vans.
So and all those vehicles are white, correct?
Yeah, yep. All of them are white. All of them are wrapped. We get lots of leads from them. So spend the extra money and wrap every vehicle you get. I can tell you that.
You should. That agrees in marketing. If you ain't putting your number out there, you're not getting business.
That's right. For sure. Joseph, what do you have for us? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to corral my babysitting duties while I'm on this call. So this call was recommended to me by the franchise advisor that I've been working with within HFC. So I had no idea what to expect. I didn't realize that I would be talking today. I thought it was kind of like just like an open forum of among owners, and she was getting me privy to listen in on the concerns that owners have. But this is great that I can actually fire off some questions. I said earlier I live in the Buffalo, New York area. But I'm a CPA by training. I work for a commercial bank. And been in the corporate world for about 25 years and have started exploring opportunities to do something on my own. I've wanted to do that for a long time. And I actually have a friend who has a budget blinds franchise as part of the home franchise concepts, and he's done exceptionally well with it. here in Western New York. And so that, kind of led to my interest in looking into home franchise concepts. And the advisor I've been working with is fantastic. And she kind of helped me narrow down my search and kind of pinpointed this opportunity. So, I mean, I have like, at this point, I've only had some conversations with her, nobody specifically within Kitchen Tune-Up. So I'm willing to absorb anything you have to say. I really don't know much. Just I guess like if maybe you could talk about how like you got started, like you mentioned your initial capital was drawn from your 401k and an SBA loan. I've been looking into the same thing too. Like what does it cost to kind of get up and running? How many people do you need once you are there? If you've gone through the ramp up phase, what do you in terms of like boots on the ground besides yourself? Like who do you have with you? You mentioned you have a project manager and sales person. Did you have that initially, or is it like were you doing installations and things like that?
Sure.
So happy to listen to anything you have to say.
Sure. So I'll hold off 1 second. I'm gonna get to Kevin, and then I can run through all of that for everybody if that works for you. So Kevin, what about you?
You can come back to me as many times as you want. I've got 50 questions. So this is my first live call. I live in Utah. I've been exploring this for about 2 weeks. I'm trying to move very quickly on making a decision on franchise. Like everybody else, I'm burned out on the corporate world. And I've been putting this off for a long time. Unfortunately for you, the main thing I want to understand is in detail is the financials, because we can't ask the franchisor the financials.
Sure.
So, if you wouldn't mind breaking down your financials a little more, how much do you pay yourself in salary? How much is left over in net profit? If you know anything about other franchisees and say, hey, you can probably expect in the second year, this % of net income, et cetera. Those are just numbers it's impossible to get from anybody but you all who are running the franchises.
I get it 100%. So I have no problem in at least giving you my high level. Joseph's going to get mad at me because I'm not a CPA. So my numbers aren't going to be very good at like what you exactly want, but I have no problem giving them to you. So here's the deal. I'll talk really briefly about, how we got started, what that looks like, what that ramp is. Ramp up is how to get to the numbers that you need to get to make money. So we started in 2019 and it was just me. That was the whole goal, was that I was going to do my sales and I was going to do, my installs. And then that very quickly realized that wasn't happening. I hired a salesperson early on in December of 2019. Corey, my project manager, operations manager, business partner, he started in September of 2019. So a couple months into it. I set myself out at a pay cut on my salary the first couple of years, and I did $65,000. That was going to be my salary that I set for myself. At this point, I've raised it to $72,000. So that's my salary that I take out of the business. And that's pretty much all that I take out of the business. So my story could be different than other owners, of course, but we started in 2019. We did about $325,000 in sales. Then COVID hit in 2020. We realized, which is what I would tell everybody in this validation call, is I'm not sure, unless you've got a giant house or you live in the middle of nowhere and you have a giant garage or building, I don't know if it's a home-based business. We grew out of the home very, very quickly. So we started renting an office space in December of 2019, started leasing a showroom and warehouse in February of 2020. COVID hit March of 2020, and we were shut down for about 2.5 months. So that was fun. Then the demand skyrocketed after COVID. And we did about 600,000 or so in 2020 in sales. Actually, I'm taking it back. It was 800,000 or so in 2020 by the time we were done with all the closed jobs out. We didn't make any money. We broke even. We put all the money back in the business. We spent stuff in the showroom. We were hiring employees. It's a learning process of the employee side. You have to figure out who you're going to hire, how they're going to work. And then when they don't work, you get to fire them, and then you get to hire again, and so on. So we made plenty of mistakes. In 2020, we also bought those other 2 territories, like I told you. We didn't win Neighbors. We didn't want to be Kitchen Tune-Up Louisville. We didn't want to be Louisville East. So we also spent a lot of money on that. And so that carried over in 2021. 2021, we sold $1 million in business. We grew rapidly. We bought another van and hired 2 more installers. And at one point, we had 5 installers, the project manager, the salesperson, myself, and we were just overstaffed. It came to, we were spending way too much money. We weren't doing as much jobs as we could. It was painful, the growth period. I'm not going to lie to you. We grew too fast for our own good, and we spent lots of money doing it. A lot of money. 2022 rolled around, and we finally improved our process enough to know that we were comfortable, and we were figured out, okay, here's what our margins are going to be. Here's what we're going to do. And we probably get a margin on average of about a 45%. So 45% profit margin for us is minus my COGS, so minus all of my cost of goods sold, minus my royalty I pay, minus my commission that I pay my sales guy, which is 10%. And then we get about 45% left that goes into the bucket. So that bucket is now covering all my overhead, my salary, my operations director salary. So we still had technically a 0 profit on the business last year, but we all paid ourselves, we all made our money, and everybody's good. So this year, the goal is to still have our profit margin and still hit the 1.2, 1.3 million in sales. That's ideal for us. We'll make money on that side. Will we have a mass profit at the end of the year? Probably not, because we still have to replenish our tools. We still got to buy new material. The maintenance on the vans, we had to fix a bunch of stuff on one of the vans. So we're still making our money, but I'm not saying we got a high profit at the end of the year, if that makes sense for you. And Joseph is probably rolling over like, man, these people suck at their numbers. So that's sort of the high level of what we do and how we do it. So I don't know if that gave you enough of a high level of financial side, but that's sort of where we're at anyways.
Okay.
And so we can address anything else in that whole blurb that I just read or said, but let's go back to Heather and see if you got any questions based on what I talked about, or if you got anything different.
What about your installers? What do you pay them an hour?
Sure. So ideally, everybody starts at $20 an hour, and we have a checklist that says, I know how to do crown molding. Yes. I know how to do refacing. Yes. I know how to spray in the paint booth. Yes. And they get up to about $25 an hour. So 25 is sort of where we're capping everybody. But that being said, here this year, we need a new installer, and it looks like we're paying somebody $25 out of the gate to get the person we want. So you're going to range depending on what you're trying to do. Our installers are all paid every other week. They're hourly. We guarantee 36 hours of work. So even if we don't have a job, they're going to pay their 36 hours, because we found that if we can't guarantee them hours, that they're not likely to stick around. We also pay half of their health insurance, and they get vacation time and 8 holidays. So they're pretty well set, in my opinion, anyways, at least for our market. Now, granted, depending on what your market is, you may pay a lot more on your labor, or you may pay a lot less.
Hi, can you explain the process for the painting, the cabinets?
So I can tell you all the owners paint differently. We paint by taking the doors and the door fronts off. We bring them back to our shop. We have a paint booth set up upstairs, and we spray them all. In the house, we're brushing and rolling the boxes and any molding. We do not spray in the house. It's the time commitment and the risk of getting it someplace that it's not supposed to be is too high. We've tried a couple of times, and we're just like, we can get just as good of a quality brush and rolling as spraying. It's also something that we use as an upsell as, hey, this is our process on paint. If you don't want to do that, let's redoor it. Or, hey, let's reface it. So I would much rather do a reface or a redoor than a paint any day of the week. So we use that as a selling point of your paint is this, but you can do this if you want to spend the extra money. So,
Your warehouse?
I'm sorry, say again.
Yeah, the paint booth, like at your warehouse, wherever else.
Yep. We spray all water-based, no oil-based or anything like that. So,
thanks.
Okay. Mike, you got anything for us?
No, that's a lot, but just to kind of back up a little bit. So, you started with one territory in 2019, and then you brought the 2 additional as a hedge against, any unfriendly neighbors. And to, kind of build on, the questions earlier, you're right, the numbers are a little bit scary. If you're drawing a salary of, initially 65, currently at 72, I'm just laying it out there. Like, I'm just putting it on the table. Your installers could potentially be making more than you at that rate.
Yes. So again, we drew only what we needed to draw for my existing salary. We're not pulling extra money out of the business. We spend a lot of extra money on my installers to pay half of their insurance, to give them holiday and vacation time. My operations manager, he gets paid his salary. So I'm paying a lot inside of benefits and for other people, and not taking as much myself.
How much do you pay your PM and salesperson?
Salesperson's 10% of every job.
No,
So
no base, just commission.
No base.
So what is that? What did that equal last year total, roughly?
So it was about 80-ish. You can get about 80, 90, depending on how much he's going to sell. If he sells his 1.2 this year, he's going to make his 10% off that. He's going to make 100,000. But he's working really hard to make that 100,000 to get that number of sales.
Yeah.
My operations guy, he's making 55 a year. But we're in it for the long haul, not the short haul. So short term. So we know that in order to grow the business, we've got to spend money in the business and on the business. And so that's the game plan for us. It's a long haul game, not a short term. So that's where my numbers are.
And
Now, that's not to say, and you got to keep in mind, buying 2 territories and all that growth, we had plenty of mistakes along the way. We spent lots of money on tuition back into the business of our mistakes. So you need to plan on having it. Like, you can't come in and think that it's going to go perfect, because it's not. It's not going to just happen for you. You're going to have to figure it out, and you're going to have to practice it, and you're going to have a graveyard of doors that don't fit cabinets. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
With the additional territories, do you have a contractual obligation to turn those territories over to another franchisee at a certain point? Meaning, like, can you occupy those territories yourself, or is there a point at which you need to let those go to a new franchisee?
No, they're all mine. So I pay for them. They're my franchise. It's mine until our contract's up. And if we don't renew, then obviously somebody else can have them, but they're our territories. We're not obligated to do anything with them other than we have it.
Are you incurring a royalty fee for each of those territories, or?
Oh, yeah. So royalty, so because we are connected, all 3 territories are connected, we fall under one. So we've got a different sliding scale. My contract could be different than what's in the current FTD. So mine is set up as a different sliding scale because I own multiple territories, but the royalty comes out as one business. So I'm not paying 3 royalties. I'm not paying 3 NAFs. I'm not paying 3 times. I'm paying 1 because they're all connected territories. So again, I don't know what the FTD says right now. So it may have changed since 2019 because we bought in before HFC was involved. So I know after HFC got involved, contracts look different than what mine do. So, okay. Kenneth?
So you're only paying yourself 72 right now, and then the rest you're just funneling back into the business. So in your business, you're paying for those vehicle leases, all the equipment, correct?
Oh, yeah.
All your insurances?
All the insurance is through it, all the utilities, rent, everything for the buildings through it. Everything goes through the business. That's a business expense. I'm not one of the owners that run my personal business expenses through the business either. I know some of the owners do. That's not anything that I'm doing. So,
is there a reason why not, or you just don't want to?
my business and my personal are 100% separate. I don't want to mix them together. So we just chose not to do it. It's one business, one personal. So I was just
talking to a CPA there.
I'm sorry.
I said you are talking to a CPA there. You might want to listen to them.
No, I'm not the CPA.
So Joseph's the CPA.
Yeah.
Joseph, you're next.
Do you pay your health insurance through your business? Do you have health insurance?
So I pay half of all of my employees' health insurance and individual coverage.
Right.
So that equals out to be like $79 a paycheck, something like that. I get paid $79 a paycheck on mine as well for me, but then the rest of my health insurance gets taken out of my paycheck just like you would at a corporate job.
Okay. So you W-2 yourself?
I'm W-2'd.
Okay.
I'm an S corp. I'm an S corp because we rolled the 401k over, so I'm 100% S corp as well. So
Was that a Rob's?
Yep.
Before?
Yep.
Did Kitchen Tune Up help facilitate that, or did you do that on your own?
no, I did that through my franchise coach or advisor.
Okay.
They were the ones that was like, here's a person to talk to. Go talk to them and they'll help you.
Can I ask, like, why did you choose Kitchen Tune Up? I don't know how you mentioned you used a franchise coach. Did he or she present other options to you, and how did you vet them and validate them, and why did you settle on Kitchen Tune Up?
Sure. So much like Kevin, I was in a very fast track of getting into a business. I did get presented 4 or 3 franchises, Kitchen Tune Up being one of them. I eliminated the other 2 pretty quickly after one validation call apiece. And I'd already had such an interest in remodeling. Me and my wife had bought our first house and it was a flip. We changed everything about it, got bored 4 months after the last project, bought our next flip house. And now we live in that one because we had a baby. But we were already involved in the remodel and this fit well. The home office and all the people involved are amazing and the other owners are amazing. So I really fell in love with the process, the people, and the fact that it was something that I could afford to get into. So that's sort of the decision behind ours. We made our decision in 2.5 months from the time we started looking. So we were ready to go. And we jumped right in. I didn't do a discovery day. I did nothing other than these validation calls. And that's how I made my decision. I wouldn't change it. I love it. I love everything about it. So we also didn't have a lot of companies that did refacing in the Louisville market. You know, Home Depot, that's it. That's the only one. So there wasn't like a lot of competition around that did a whole bunch of the stuff that Kitchen Tune Up did. So that played into it as well. So that's sort of why I went with Kitchen Tune Up. I also own a budget blind franchise. I just bought it in January from a previous owner in Louisville. So now I have both. But I can't speak too much on budget blinds because it's still too new. But we are integrating both brands in there. I like everything about HFC and JM Family. I have no qualms with any of that.
Sorry, I don't want to hog the floor. Can I ask one more question?
Go for it.
My turn. So you mentioned you bought 2 other territories because you didn't want neighbors, which is completely understandable, and you want to, grab the whole market. You also mentioned that the other owners are great. Do you collaborate with them and they're resourceful and helpful?
Yes. So, you have to talk with the other owners. That's how you get the knowledge of somebody's probably been in the situation. You're asking questions. So either on the owner Facebook group, you form friends with a bunch of them. I talk to people across the country multiple times a month. I'm on different group mastermind calls with them. Being on the advisory council, I have regional calls every quarter with a whole group of people that we're sort of leading that discussion. So the owners are really amazing. I bought the 2 territories early on into the business. Neighbors aren't necessarily a bad thing if you've got a good one. So if you have a neighbor and it's a good neighbor and they're marketing, that helps your business. If you can share resources, that helps your business. If you can share office or warehouse space, that helps your business. So I'm not saying neighbors are bad. I bought because I didn't want my Google ratings to reflect somebody else's territory.
There's already an existing franchisee in the market that I'm in, but there's 2 territories that are open. So I just didn't know how the other person would respond.
You should ask, is Shauna or Lisa your advisor on
Lisa.
HFC? So you should ask Lisa if you can talk to that New York owner, get information from them.
Okay.
Get a feel for how they are.
All right, thank you.
Kevin?
Yeah, so you have retail space as well. How much of your business growth would you attribute to that? How much cost did that add?
Growth of the business, we are not on a place where we're going to get a lot of walk-in traffic. We looked mainly for warehouse space and shop space. It was an added bonus that 800 square feet of it was something that we could turn into a showroom. So it wasn't we're going to drive business to the showroom. It was, we need the warehouse. The showroom's nice. We go to the appointment if they've got questions or they want to see 20 different doors and all the backsplash and all the countertop samples. We set up the follow-up appointment. They come into the showroom and make final selections. So we use it as a final selection center more than a first touch. It's normally a second touch piece. That's not to say we don't get walk-in, but I would not say that it contributes any dollar amount to our business because of the way that we've got it set up.
Well, hopefully it helps your close rate then.
It helps the close rate and it helps your validation of you're a real business. It helps that side of it. But I wouldn't say that people are walking in and buying a cake from us, if that makes sense.
It does. And I have to apologize. I'm going to leave in a few minutes and I won't interrupt when I leave. But
sure.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Heather?
Yeah, so then follow up to what you were just talking about with your retail and warehouse space. What size is your retail warehouse space? What's your
So we've got 800-ish square foot that's office/showroom. And then the back, we've got about 1,100 square feet. And then we have a mezzanine above it that doesn't count in the square foot that we've got our paint booth set up. So, count for another 700 square feet that's not accounted for in those numbers. You are all going to hate me when I tell you my rent is only $1,300 a month because it's a steal and the landlord is crazy. So $1,300. So my warehouse and retail is well worth it.
The pricing stuff, and it's nowhere near that. So yeah, that's
you got to drive around and find things that aren't listed online. Just start driving around. You'll find some landlord that's got a sign out there, and you call them, and you hope that they're crazy and they'll give you a good deal. That's how we do it.
So one other question real quick. So when I'm sorry, we have a puppy at home. So
You're fine. You're fine.
We're trying to figure out how much markup are you doing? Like, how did you determine the markup to do? Because I know that Kitchen Tips recommends, but what did you decide to do?
So, you've got ServiceMinder, which is going to be the CRM. It's going to be your quoting tool. It's going to be how you run it. So they've got all the pricing loaded in from all the vendors for all the doors and the materials. So they give you that base price. We very rarely change the markup that's already applied to that. We change our labor rate depending on how it goes. So if we think that because I'm going to pay my employees for that 36 hours, we're going to assume that we're going to have a week's worth of labor in that job, whether or not we're only going to have 3 days. So we modify our labor rates based on the size of the job and what the job type is. But ServiceMinder has so many ways that you can set up templates to make it easy. So if you're quoting a reface, we select reface, it brings in all the parameters, and then we just plug in the doors and we're ready to go. And then painting, and it's like, okay, plug in how many things we're painting. So our markup is all on that sort of the labor side and any additional pieces we're adding in. And we've obviously calculated it all to average that 45% margin after all of our stuff is accounted for. So that's sort of how we determined our markup.
Awesome, thank you. One other question real quick. So in terms of the jobs themselves, it sounds like in all these validation calls, like the reface and the redoor seem to be like 3 to 5 days, depending on the size of the kitchens. Custom jobs that you've done, how long do those take? Are you?
Depends if you count countertops in conjunction with it. So custom kitchens, it's going to take 4 or 5 days at the most to get all the cabinets set. Then your fabricator's going to have to come in and template for countertops. They're going to take 3 weeks to cut it. Then they're going to come back and install it. So in a custom kitchen world, they're without a kitchen for that month and a half. It's unavoidable in the custom world, unless you're doing a laminate countertop and you're doing it yourself. But we don't even sell it. We only sell stone. So they're waiting for that stone to get finished before they can use their kitchen.
Okay.
Every other process, that's that 5 days is the most, and they're using the kitchen every day of that project. They're not without a kitchen. It's the main selling point of a reface.
What would you say custom jobs compared to the reface redoor? Like what percentage did you do last year?
So we are reface is number one, paint, then then custom, then redooring, and then a tune-up. That would sort of be our mix. I'd say we're maybe 15% would be custom. The vast majority of it's refacing. There's just no way that's not 85% or 65% of the business, whatever it may be. So, and I have those percentages somewhere. I just don't know where I've got them to tell you off the top of my head. So, okay, Mike, I'm back to you.
Yeah, so kind of building on what Heather had just hit on. So when you are building out a job and it's something that falls outside of the purview of what you can do within your space, so you need a contractor, you need what is the mechanism by which you find those? Is that something that
trial and error is the answer? It's not the answer you want, but that's the answer. We only recommend one person that we do things with. So we recommend an electrician because I have somebody that we fully trust and we can use. Plumbing, it's hit or miss on if we'll recommend somebody. If you recommend somebody and then that plumber is terrible, then that's kitchen tune-up fault. If you recommend a flooring company and that flooring company is terrible, that's kitchen tune-up fault. So we've learned that we're not recommending anybody unless we fully trust it, because I don't want it to be a bad reputation on my end. And if it's something that we don't do, we just tell them outright, that's not what we do. Here's how we do work. If you've got somebody else that's going to do your plumbing, great. If you've got a flooring person, great. But we stick to what we know, and that's all that we do.
So is the onus on you to vet and secure those folks, or does kitchen tune-up have any role in?
You're going to have to do that all on your own. No vetting on the kitchen tune-up process.
So, and kind of building on that, some of what I was looking at is the residential versus commercial. Do you have any degree of commercial business?
We have done a nursing home and Allstate insurance office. That's it. Very, very little commercial work. It's almost all residential. We've tried to work with builders. Builders want the cheapest thing that you can possibly offer so they can make money. They don't want you to make money. So we've quit working with builders, and we focus all on our own. So. Kenneth?
Yeah, so you picked the budget blind, which I'm very familiar with. I used to run 3-day blinds. I was a director for them before the economy crashed in 2008. My curious is, why did you pick the bath tune-up? It seems to be more of a compatible fit with the kitchen tune-up.
I picked budget blinds because the previous owner reached out and asked if I wanted to buy his territory. He was going to stick around and help us make sure it worked out well. He had a good track record. It was just, it was a much easier process. In reality, I didn't have to learn bathrooms. So no bath tune-up for me. I'm done with my budget blinds kitchens. That's more than enough. I don't need anything else. So no bathrooms.
Thank you.
Yep. Joseph?
So actually, just kind of piggybacking on that, there's clearly no prohibition to owning more than one HFC franchise.
Nope.
I assume there is on owning other franchises outside of the HFC umbrella, or no?
Not that I'm aware of. You have to sign that non-compete. So if you buy a kitchen tune-up, you could buy a kitchen solvers or whatever the other ones are. I don't think you can buy a competing franchise, but okay. I don't see why you can't go outside of HFC if you want to open a gym in conjunction with an HFC product. But I don't know the rules, so don't hold me to it.
I won't. How is kitchen tune-up positioned in the marketplace? Like, you've got high-end custom cabinet makers and things like that. Like, how does kitchen tune-up present itself to a customer?
So I will tell you that our market, me specifically, we do not compete for that high-end custom cabinet. Our customer is not that person. There's too many of them around us that do custom, like super high-end. That is very rare if we get that customer walking in. Our customer is going to be a lady in her 50s, 60s. We skew a little bit younger, a little bit, but not very often. And they're going to have a house that's anywhere between, $400,000 to $700,000. That's our ideal customer. That's most of our mix. And it's worked well for us. We do not go for the high-end designer side of it. We're not looking for that. There's plenty of work in our market for that niche of refacing and the painting of cabinets that we can make our money that way. So our most expensive custom that we've ever done was $47,000 in cabinetry. That's not expensive when you look at an Amish made cabinets or some of these high-end ones that it would have been $90,000. Right. So that's not our customer.
So the core business of kitchen tune-up is refacing, painting, and you sell cabinets too?
Yeah, the custom side, but I don't sell cabinets that somebody else will install. So okay. My business isn't set up. My business is, if we're selling you the cabinets, we're installing the cabinets. So okay. I don't even sell directly to consumers, just the cabinetry.
Oh, you don't?
Other locations do, but I do not. I find it more of a risk because if they give me measurements and then they order the cabinet and it doesn't fit, I don't want it to be my fault. So I want to have full control over, I measured it, I bought it, I installed it, I know what I'm doing with it.
Okay. And just going back to what somebody had asked previously about, and you touched on, like, hiring, subcontracting, electrical, plumbing, flooring, there's no expectation when customers call you that you're quoting them anything for those types of services, right? Like, that's really a separate project.
That's right. So we only quote cabinets, countertops, backsplash. That's it. They're not getting anything else from us.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Heather, y'all are next.
Sorry. I was wondering your marketing plan, like what are you spending on marketing to where? Yeah, here's an idea.
Yep. So my background, I've got a marketing degree. That's what I did before kitchens. So I love everything about it. So we spend on average about $4,000 to $5,000 a month, depending on how much money we put in Facebook. For the month, we have a mix, I believe, in multiple touches everywhere. So we are in print in local neighborhood magazines. They are very specific neighborhoods. We target them knowing the age of the home. Everybody in the neighborhood has the right age. They've got the money to afford it, and they all need something done in their kitchen. So we've got very specific neighborhood magazines, like through Into or Best Version Media. I'm sure they're everywhere. They're also a franchise. We do a lot of SEO marketing optimization. We spend money on that side. We do Facebook. And then we've got a couple of different digital ads that we run. We've got yard signs that we put out for every job. All the vehicles are wrapped. We've done a little bit of postcards on some every door direct mail marketing, and we've tried some different things throughout. I will say I don't spend a lot of money on PPC. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I can't stand it, and I don't. So pay per click. So Google Ads. So like you would see it at the top that says sponsored or ad. I hate them. I don't spend the money on it. I can't stand it. So I'd much rather spend my money on optimizing my page with SEO. We do a lot of chamber things like throughout the chambers, as far as like sponsoring different events and stuff like that. Home shows are a really good thing for us. We booked 22 appointments at the home show last month. So that was excellent. So, it's going to fluctuate. Your marketing dollars are going to fluctuate. We also spent a lot of time growing our Facebook page. We've got a pretty good number of followers, a lot more than a lot of other locations. We do a lot of Facebook Live videos. We're heavily involved in videos on our Facebook. So we've grown that organic side of Facebook to a degree. And then we'll drop money on Facebook ads, especially at different times of the year and different times of the month. We'll drop $500 here, or here we're going to spend $1,000 over the course of these 2 weeks. So that one we can turn on and off a little bit more, especially given our leads. If we're short on leads, you spend the money on Facebook and boost it up. So that's on average on what we're doing. Some months we're very lean and we don't do anything extra if we're really busy.
Can I ask a quick question? Do you have any advice on when we start? We're trying to figure out like we're going to wrap her vehicle because it's a newer white SUV, so that's lucky for us. We're going to put a hitch on it so that we can get like maybe a 6x12 trailer. And then we're trying to figure out. I actually met the budget blinds guy in our area. He was super nice. He actually had a trailer. It's actually bigger, but he said we could borrow it. He'd never ever used it, so we would even borrow his in the beginning. We're just trying to think what to do initially. Like, do we? Because I heard you can even make some sales before you hire anybody because you have that lead time till the cabinets come in. Or do we make some sales before we get a warehouse? Like the order of things between like the vehicle and the trailer and the warehouse and the hiring.
We started day one. We got back from training. We were open and we went out trying to generate leads and start selling. We did not wait. It wasn't anything we were waiting on. So we started.
Before you got a warehouse for the vehicles or the hiring.
Yep. So we were pretty much on the ground as soon as we got back from training. The van was wrapped and I went and started selling. So we were ready to go.
And once you're worry about the warehouse or the.
They'll deliver it to your garage. You got to give up your garage space. They'll deliver it, but you'll fill your garage full of cabinetry. So just be prepared. We do not have a trailer. The trailers are a little bit harder to maneuver within a neighborhood. Can you park it on the street? Can you get it up the steep driveway? So we've avoided the trailer, but that's just us.
What size vans are they? Can you tell us about that?
They're a Nissan high roof 2500 or something like that. So it's the big Nissan vans. So they've got the Ford Transits. We just have to get Nissan because that's what we could get during COVID. But they've got the Transits that you could do, the Mercedes version of it, whatever that one's called, and then the Dodge Ram.
They're not minivans. They're pretty big. Okay.
Yes, they're commercial, and they've got built outs in there with shelves and pack outs and everything else in there.
Okay.
So,
all right. Thanks.
Yep. Kenneth.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
And that's the thing.
Joseph, do you have anything else?
So yeah, I guess, do you recommend you have experience in this line of work at all? Like you mentioned how you flipped houses. I can't claim I'm a handy person. Is that a drawback to getting?
My opinion is you're not going to want to be doing the installs anyways. You're going to have to hire somebody to do the installs. As long as you can find somebody that you trust, that you know that they're going to do it correctly, then let that person be your installer. Let them start, and then they can grow to be the project manager, and then they can train other people with it. I was handy-ish, but I never, had to do as much remodeling in a kitchen. Like I didn't remodel kitchens. We painted our cabinets, and it wasn't anything like that. But I was handy enough that I wasn't scared to use the tool. I think, and that's sort of how we hire installers is you just have to be able to read a tape measure, and you cannot be scared to use the tool. That's sort of our qualification for an installer. They do not have to be full-blown carpenters. We've had horse trainers. We've had a Domino's pizza manager. We've done a call center rep at a cable company. So we've trained all kinds of people. You don't have to find somebody that's a master carpenter to do the work that you need to do. Would it be nice? Yes, but they don't all have to be master carpenters or anything like that.
Okay. And then my last most pressing question, is your name Vincent Chase?
I'm not Entourage, so
okay.
Chase Vincent. So.
It's Chase Vincent? Okay. Actually, it's funny because I was flipping through the channels last night and the first episode of Entourage was on.
Yep.
And so just reminded me looking at your name.
So Mike, I realized I skipped you. I'm sorry. Mike, what about you?
It's all right. And this kind of like all of the home service franchises that we're looking at right now, one of the things that I'm not entirely clear on in terms of how you set up your estimates and part of the sales process, do you have a calculator, might not be the right word, but a valuation that says to these folks, here's the value beyond what you're, the aesthetic and what they're trying to do with their kitchen. Are you able to ascribe a quantitative increased home value to what you're doing?
So we sell ourselves. I don't sell a kitchen. I'm not selling a kitchen remodel. We're selling the relationship with us. That's how Tony sells it when he's out of the house. It's a relationship build. We're learning about how to use the kitchen, and we sell based on the emotion behind it. So we very rarely get into the situation of it's going to increase your home by 70% or whatever it may be. We are not selling it that way. I know that we do have there's a company called Cost versus Value. They publish a report for not every, but regional in some cities. We have one. It shows that an increase or a small kitchen remodel increases the home value or you can return your investment. It's a return on your investment. You can get 76% or something like that back on your investment if you go to sell the house. We use that fact here and there, but most of the time a customer is buying because they like us and not because we're the cheapest, because we're not ever the cheapest. I can tell you, they'll get quotes and we're never the cheapest. I don't want to be the cheapest. So we are very much selling the relationship of us and what we bring to the party as us, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
So
I think of it like the window model, somebody trying to sell you new windows in your home, and they say, well, in 74 short years, you'll have paid off the energy cost.
No, we're not really selling the value of feature and benefit of the kitchen. It's much more of an emotional sale tied to it than the feature and benefit of, this door is made by, however, we're not going into that. So
got it.
So we got about 5 more minutes. Feel free we can just shout out questions, but before we do, if you all want to reach out directly, I have no problem doing that. I'll give you all my phone number, my email address, and you can just reach out if you've got additional questions. If you want to talk, I have no problem talking kitchen tune-up. Like I said, I love it. So my phone number is 502-594-3312. And then my email is cvincent@kitchentuneup.com. You can look up our Facebook page if you want to see sort of how that's all working and what we do on there. It's Kitchen Tune Up Louisville, Kentucky. It should be out there. Hopefully it's easy to find. If you want to see sort of what we do on there and how we run our Facebook stuff. But other than that, what other questions do you all have that you all just want to shoot out, and we'll see how many more we can answer quickly. Nothing? I answered everything right. So you're all going to call Craig back and be like, I'm buying today. So
I just want to say thank you for your honesty in the numbers part, because most of the franchisees that we've listened to, they've shared a little bit, but you've been very honest, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
So I don't want anybody to get into it thinking that they're going to make $1 million the first year. It's not realistic. Come on. So it's like, I have no problem being honest with you. And again, that's my model. That's not everybody's model. I'm sure there are owners making $150,000. They're running all their personal expenses through the business. I know it exists out there, but the way we've said it is the way we've said it. And like I said, we made plenty of mistakes. So we paid lots of tuition in charge.
We might call you because we feel like we're maybe in a similar area a little bit. We're in Akron, Canton area. I mean, we're not in New York or San Francisco.
Yep.
West like you. So maybe the prices are similar and labor costs are similar and all that.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me. So no problem.
In your 3 territories, Chase, do you happen to know how many households you have?
Or owner occupied.
The whole owner occupied.
They told us like 41,000 owner occupied houses in the right demographic is what they want our territory to be. And ours is actually, I think, about 61. So we're kind of excited that we had a kind of bigger.
I don't know how many are in my territory, to be honest with you. I'm sure I could look up the maps from when we did it initially, but I don't know. But because we don't have any neighbors, we have a limited number of people that we can get to.
And we're pretty lucky too, because there was Cincinnati, there was Cleveland, there was Columbus, but not really any Akron, Canton. So we haven't signed yet, but we're pretty far down the road. So we're most likely going to.
Sure. And I will tell you that if you all do decide to do it, you all should find the Kitchen Tune-Up location that's close to you, or talk to multiple, maybe talk to multiple locations close to you, and find one and go visit them. You want to go visit how they do it. We went to, I drove all the way to Grand Rapids to do my sort of shadowing once we bought the business. And that helped our business a lot, get started a lot quicker, because we spent 3 days up there. We saw how they were doing refacing. We knew what was going on. I had done validation calls and one-on-one calls with that owner before I bought. So we already had that relationship. We're very good friends now. So you need to find somebody to go visit. The people from Cincinnati, Lisa that's down there, or up there, I guess I should say, she came down to visit me when they opened up. So I think it's very valuable to at least see what's happening, because what you're going to learn in training, it's one thing. You get home, you need to be practicing. You need to be going to find a cabinet on the side of the street. You need to go to Habitat for Humanity and buy cabinets, and then you just need to buy materials to practice. You have to practice before you start your project. Our first project took 1 month to complete when it should have been 5 days, and it took me a month to do it. That's how unprepared I was. Now, she was the person that sold me the franchise, so she knew she was a guinea pig, and she had no problem being a guinea pig. But I don't want to put you all in that situation. So, but y'all may be a lot better at it than I was. So, it was a very complicated reface. She wanted very complicated things, and I wasn't prepared for it. Nowadays, we would have been able to knock it out in 4 days and been done with it. But back then, I wasn't ready. I was not.
But the tune-up's the unique thing, right? I mean, refacing, redoring, and installation, if these guys know how to do it, they know how to do it. And we flip houses, so we have a couple contractors, but we know better than to think they'll ever be an employee of ours, because, they're boss. But in a pinch, they'll help us, which is nice, because at least we have some fallback.
But yeah, the tune-up is the hardest thing to master, and it takes practice, because no door is the same. So it's not like you can do one and be like, yeah, got it. But then the next house, it's going to be a cherry door, and that's going to be different than that oak door, and then that's going to be different than that maple door. So the process is similar, but overall it's different, because it's a different species. It's going to be different damage amounts, all of that stuff. So you've got to sort of really practice your tune-up. I know that Bruce Morgan now is one of the trainers during training, and he is a master at the tune-up. So you probably will get much better at it with him doing the training than what I had. So
thank you.
Yep. Anything else, guys?
I really appreciate this. Thank you very much.
No problem. You'll do better at your numbers than I will. Ken or Mike?
Yeah, I have one more question. You mentioned this discovery a couple of times. So you're going behind a different owner and just walking through their day in life?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So they probably won't be on board to let you do it before you buy a franchise, would be my guess. But if you buy a franchise, most of them should be willing to do that for you.
Yeah, you're going to buy an existing franchise. So I think that would work with him just.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're buying one from somebody, they have no problem doing it. I thought you were serious about it, so I think you'd be fine.
Yeah, your friends in Grand Rapids would be my neighbor. So I'd have to, I'm about 45 minutes outside of Grand Rapids.
So they own the Grand Rapids territory, Lansing, and Traverse City now. So they've got multiple spread throughout Michigan.
I'll take the rest.
Okay, if y'all think anything else, if y'all have any other questions, just give me a call. I'll have time, a little bit of time this afternoon if anybody wants to call after we're done, or we can set up a message or a meeting, text me, whatever you want to do for it.
Thank you. Grace.
Okay, y'all have a good one. Good luck. Look forward to talking to y'all. See ya.
Thank you.